according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
At that time, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman of that district came and called out, "Have pity on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But Jesus did not say a word in answer to her. Jesus' disciples came and asked him, "Send her away, for she keeps calling out after us." He said in reply, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But the woman came and did Jesus homage, saying, "Lord, help me." He said in reply, "It is not right to take the food of the children and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Please, Lord, for even the dogs eat the scraps that fall from the table of their masters." Then Jesus said to her in reply, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." And the woman's daughter was healed from that hour. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Before I begin, I have to read some of the government. We're required to we post this across the hall in the classroom. We're going to post this in the church office. Anybody familiar with Proposition 65? It was something probably you voted for years ago that gives power to certain departments of the state to make regulations about health warnings and things like that. So you see those in restaurants when you go in, they do certain kind of things. Well, the latest one that we're required to post here, Prop 65 warning. This room is equipped with Wi-Fi, local area wireless technology, using a 2.4 gigahertz, whatever that is, and above wavelength. Persons known to be electrosensitive to these waves who plan on being in the room more than 15 minutes are advised to request management to turn off Wi-Fi signals during the time when the room is occupied. Wi-Fi signals are estimated to extend up to 25 feet beyond doors and windows. That's why, we don't have it in here. We're close over there. The electrosensitivity symptoms may include headaches and mild nausea. Consult your physician regarding prophylactic use of dimenhydrinate, which I believe is Dramamine, meclizine hydrochloride, which is Bonine, which you can also get in the drugstore, or scopolamine. And these are all anti-nausea medications for symptoms. This posting is required by the California Department of Healthcare Services, Health and Safety Code, Section 1192C. Okay? Anybody here electrosensitive to Wi-Fi signals? Because I can go turn it off. Okay, good. Now, of course, I have to tell you that none of that was true. I totally made that up. And it's important that I tell you that I made it up, because if I didn't, by communion time, a couple of you would start to have a headache. Feel a little queasy. Okay, that's called the nocebo effect. If I place a thought in your mind that something might make you sick, sure enough, it might really make you sick. All right, so, but of course, none of that's true, but it was just a little bit believable, wasn't it? Based on other silly things that the government sometimes does.
It's typical.
Or people who are sensitive to certain things. Now, the gospel today, completely different kind of story. First of all, Jesus is up in Tyre and Sidon, way north, which would be modern-day Lebanon. What would he be doing up there? That was way out of Israel, completely different country and religion, and not totally different culture, but certainly different. Well, he had to be up there on vacation, because he'd have no other reason for going there. And sure enough, the gospel says he needed a break, so he went up to Tyre and Sidon. And then while he's there, the most bizarre thing happens. This woman yells out at him, asking him to heal her daughter. Well, this would have been outrageous. Okay, remember in that culture, the Mideastern culture, women, you would never dare to do that to a man. Even today, you meet, let's say, a devout Muslim from things, and you're a woman, and you reach out to shake his hand. You're selling real estate or something right now. Well, he'll refuse to shake your hand, and that will seem terribly rude and offensive and sexist and all that. The theory is they do that out of respect for women, but it sure wouldn't feel that way to certainly women in this country. But that was the idea. A woman would never speak to a man in public except with permission or in the presence of her husband or brother. So that was outrageous. And then Jesus, though, gives a typical Mideastern male answer. Silence was his first answer, as the gospel says. But she kept persisting and yelling because she wanted him to heal her daughter. Now, the gospel said she was a Canaanite. Well, you know, Jesus wasn't too fond of Pharisees. Jews weren't too fond of Samaritans, but at least Samaritans were Jewish and followed more or less the same religion. But this woman was a Canaanite. Talk about lowlife. Canaanites were pagans, right? They didn't believe in one God even, nothing even close to that. The Canaanites were the ones they had to kick out of the land of Israel when they came back from Egypt. Real lowlifes in the eyes of the Jew. And then when she keeps persisting, asking Jesus to heal his daughter, his answer is incredible. He says, it's not right, I'm here for the children of Israel, it's not right to, like for a mother to give food to a dog in front of her children. He called her a dog, which that would be offensive in any culture. It was really offensive in the culture of that time to call somebody a dog, still would be today in the Middle East. So it really looks like Jesus is being incredibly rude and prejudicial and all that sort of thing. But of course, as usual, he had a point and a reason for doing this. When the gospel uses the word dog, first of all, well, we only have one word for dog, but back then they had two words for dogs. They had the dogs that you see roaming the street, the scrawny things you keep your children away from, kind of wild dogs. And then the kind of dogs that most of you have that are pets. And that's the word he used, was the word dog that's like a puppy, somebody you'd like to have around and play with. And so he wasn't really as harsh as it sounds. And then his point was, well, we don't feed puppies even human food. And her brilliant rhetorical answer back to him was, well, even puppies get the scraps that fall from the table, just like your dog waits when you drop something, accidentally or on purpose, and grabs it. And so that was her gotcha, that was her touche back to Jesus, that even dogs get fed. And of course, Jesus was part of the setup, just like two actors or two comedians who work perfectly well in their timing together. That's exactly what happened here. That's exactly what he wanted her to say, so that he could make his ultimate point. Not to say, woman, you're smarter than I am, or that was pretty clever, or touche. The answer was, woman, how great is your faith? How great is your faith? Of course your daughter is healed as we speak. Of course they will grant your request. So all of this, as usual, would have been shocking to the people hanging around with Jesus, especially his apostles, who were constantly trying to figure out why the master, the teacher, would do these outrageous things and be nice to people like Samaritans and really nice to a Canaanite of all people. His constant push to upset the status quo and to get people to change and challenge their thinking. He does so brilliantly here and with a little sense of humor. So today, as we reflect on the gospel, if we want God to give us a miracle, we have to be open to the possibility of the miracle happening. If you want God to help you win the lottery, you have to buy a lottery ticket, right? You have to keep the door open, and that is what we call faith. The belief that God can and will do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. That God can and will give us that which we need, maybe not as quickly as we want it, maybe not exactly the way we want it. His timing is always off, but God will ultimately give us all that we need in our lives, as long as we distinguish between what we need and what we want. Two very different things. So, confident that even God can have a sense of humor, even God can use something that seems to be insulting and rude to actually teach us a wonderful lesson, that God can speak to Canaanites and Chinese people and Jewish people and all of us. With this great confidence, we stand now and proclaim our faith. I believe in one God,